"If you can read this, kid," Richard Sterling smirked, waving the Japanese contract like a napkin, "I'll hand your mom my office key." The boardroom laughed. Soft, cruel, rehearsed. Zara Williams didn't. She just looked up, eyes calm, fingers still resting on her mother's cleaning cart. The room smelled of money. Leather chairs, chilled champagne, and a faint trace of disinfectant from the morning cleaners. Zara sat in the corner, small against the expanse of polished mahogany. Her mother's cart waited by the door, mop bucket gleaming under fluorescent light. Richard Sterling leaned forward, his smile sharp. "Come on, little girl, read." Executives shifted, pretending not to notice the cruelty in his tone. Zara gathered the scattered pages, her fingers steady despite the tremor in her chest. She traced each line of Japanese script, eyes scanning with quiet precision. The silence stretched. Then she spoke. "Kono yaku ni wa yonamonde ga arimasu." Her pronunciation was flawless, soft, melodic, deliberate. A coffee cup clinked somewhere. Dr. Catherine Morrison nearly dropped it. Sterling's smirk faltered. "What did you just say?" Zara met his gaze. "I said this contract has 3 translation errors that will cost your company about $12 million. The air changed. Executives leaned forward, phones raised. Sterling's face went pale. "You're bluffing." Zara turned another page. Section 4. The liability clause. In Japanese, it says your company accepts full responsibility for shipping delays. Your English version says the opposite. Dr. Morrison's brow furrowed as she compared the texts. Zara pointed calmly, line by line. The payment terms are reversed, and the termination clause gives rights that don't exist in Japanese. Each correction landed like a hammer. Sterling's voice cracked. Impossible. But the boardroom knew better. A 13-year-old had just saved them from signing financial suicide. Dr. Morrison studied Zara as if seeing her for the first time. "Where did you learn business Japanese?" Zara didn't answer. Her eyes returned to the text, scanning the dense kanji with quiet authority. Sterling's ego burned. He yanked out his phone. "Fine, let's call Tokyo. We'll see how your little trick holds up." The 80-inch monitor flickered. 3 Japanese executives appeared, bowing from across the world. Sterling's attempt at Japanese stumbled and died mid-sentence. Zara's voice slipped between them like silk. "Watakushi wa Zara Williams to moshimasu. Konotabi de moshiwake gozaimasen." Polite, fluent, professional. The Tokyo team's faces lit up. They responded quickly, relieved to finally be understood. Zara translated smoothly. "They've been trying to reach your office for 2 weeks about the same errors. Your translators missed the cultural context." Sterling froze. His empire, built on arrogance, was crumbling in front of a child who'd come to do homework. Dr. Morrison whispered, "This changes everything." Zara simply closed the contract and handed it back. "Maybe next time," she said softly. "You'll ask before shouting." The silence that followed wasn't corporate. It was respect, tinged with fear, and it was only the beginning. The fog rolled in thick as Sterling's black Mercedes sliced through the empty streets. He gripped the wheel tighter, jaw clenched, humiliation burning hotter than the whiskey he'd poured after the meeting. Somewhere between fury and disbelief, he couldn't shake the image of that girl. Calm, precise, unflinching. At the same time, back in her mother's tiny apartment, Zara sat cross-legged on the floor. Her homework lay open beside the Japanese contract she'd quietly photographed with her cracked phone. Fluorescent light buzzed overhead. Her mother, still in uniform, dozed on the couch. Zara whispered the words she'd read hours ago, tracing characters in the air with her fingertip. Every syllable echoed like a heartbeat. "Mistake," she murmured. $12 million, and he called me stupid. The insult didn't sting anymore. It focused her. Across town, Sterling paced his penthouse, city lights flickering against glass walls. He replayed the humiliation in his head. Executives whispering, phones recording, a child dismantling his authority in front of the board. He wanted control back, needed to crush the story before it spread. He called legal, then PR, then Tokyo. But at every turn, the same question came up. Who was that girl? Morning arrived cold and gray. At Pinnacle Global, Dr. Morrison stepped out of the elevator with the quiet focus of someone who hadn't slept. The contract pages sat on her desk, now marked with Zara's precise notes. She'd spent half the night verifying every correction. The girl had been right. Every single one. When she reached the conference room, Sterling was already there pretending confidence. "I've contained it," he said. "No leaks." Morrison folded her arms. "You should thank her." "For embarrassing this company." "For saving it," he scoffed. "She's a janitor's kid. She's the reason Tokyo didn't pull out. You do the math." Sterling's expression hardened. "I'll handle the fallout." He left before she could answer. Later that day, as Zara waited for her mother's shift to end, the boardroom doors opened. Dr. Morrison stepped in quietly. "You saved a lot of people's jobs yesterday," she said. Zara looked up, uncertain whether she was in trouble. "I just translated." Morrison smiled. That's exactly what everyone else failed to do. Before Zara could reply, Sterling's voice thundered from the hallway. "Morrison, Tokyo's, calling. Patch it through now." The massive monitor blinked to life again. The same Japanese executives bowed politely. Sterling opened his mouth, mangling the language a second time. His words died when Zara's reflection appeared on screen behind him. "Tanaka-san, konnichiwa," she said softly. The Tokyo team's faces lit with recognition. Morrison glanced at Sterling, who froze mid-sentence. "They're saying," Zara translated, "your company's cultural understanding just improved overnight." Sterling's fists tightened. The room erupted in relieved laughter except his. For the first time, Morrison saw it clearly. The balance had shifted. The bridge between worlds had a name: Zara Williams. The night after the boardroom incident, the Chicago skyline glowed like molten steel. In the shadows of Pinnacle Tower, Dr. Morrison stared at her office window, replaying Zara's quiet authority in her mind. She'd seen brilliance before, analysts, linguists, consultants, but nothing like this. Zara hadn't translated. She had communicated. Culture, nuance, emotion, all without losing composure. At that same hour, Sterling was drowning in whiskey and denial. News of the viral boardroom video, "Child Exposes Billionaire's Mistake," had reached international networks. Every time he refreshed his feed, another outlet had picked it up. His empire was laughingstock material by dawn. By morning, Dr. Morrison's phone rang non-stop. Tokyo wanted a follow-up call. Berlin demanded clarification. And Seoul, the company's largest Asian client, had gone dark. Panic simmered beneath the polished calm of corporate routines. Then the Seoul emergency line blinked red. "I'll take it," Morrison said, already reaching for the receiver. A flood of Korean words hit her, urgent and terrified. Machinery terms, chemical names, something about contamination. Morrison's Korean vocabulary collapsed under the weight of panic. "Please slow down. English, please," she begged. But the voice on the other end didn't slow. Behind it, shouting, clanging metal, a siren. "We need the translator now," she called out. "Earliest availability is 9 a.m., her assistant replied helplessly. It was barely 6, and then a quiet voice from the hallway. "I can help." Zara stood in the doorway, backpack slung over her shoulder, school uniform crisp. Her mother's cleaning cart waited outside. Morrison blinked. "Zara, how did you—" "Mom starts her shift at 5. I come early to study." Without waiting for permission, Zara picked up the phone. Yoboseo, Nanun Zara Williams Eunida. Her Korean flowed smooth and controlled. The shouting stopped. The voice softened, finally coherent. Zara listened, nodding slowly. Morrison watched as the girl's posture stiffened. Something serious. "Dr. Morrison," Zara said, covering the receiver. "It's not a small issue. There's been a chemical leak in the Seoul facility. 3 workers hospitalized. But the real problem is translation. The Korean safety manual says evacuate 500 meters. The English one says 200. Morrison froze. 47 people still inside the danger zone, Zara added quietly. Within minutes, Zara became the bridge again, relaying medical terminology, explaining cultural formalities, switching between English and Korean like breathing. Every sentence carried urgency wrapped in calm precision. She wasn't just translating, she was commanding the disaster response. By 8 a.m., all workers had been evacuated safely. The Seoul plant manager, still shaken, insisted on speaking directly to Zara. His voice trembled with gratitude through the speaker. "He says," Zara translated softly, "that in 30 years of industrial work, he's never experienced such clarity under pressure. He wants to know if I'd consider training his translators." Dr. Morrison stared at her, the 13-year-old girl who had just saved lives before most executives finished their morning coffee. "Zara," she said, voice breaking slightly, "how would you feel about making that position permanent?" By noon, word of the Seoul rescue had reached every floor of Pinnacle Global. The story spread faster than the official memo. The cleaning lady's daughter saved the plant. Dr. Morrison's inbox filled with congratulatory emails and media inquiries. But in the executive suite, Richard Sterling's rage fermented like acid. He stormed into Morrison's office, his voice already raised. "You let a child handle corporate crisis communication?" Morrison didn't flinch. That child prevented a 47-person fatality and an $80 million loss. "She got lucky," Sterling snapped. "This is a Fortune 500 company, not a daycare." He threw a stack of papers onto the desk. Legal memos, insurance clauses, liability warnings. "Our policies require degrees, certifications, credentials. You think we can put a teenager on payroll?" Zara sat quietly in the corner, pretending to focus on her homework. Her pencil moved slowly, the way it did when she was trying not to cry. "She belongs in school," Sterling growled, "not in boardrooms." Morrison rose. "Richard, she's teaching the boardrooms." The argument spilled into the hallway, executives peeking through half-closed doors. Sterling's temper echoed down the corridor. "What's next? Janitors running strategy meetings? Cafeteria workers leading mergers?" He turned back toward Zara. His tone dropped to a hiss. "You think you're special because you memorized a few fancy words. Intelligence without a degree is just noise." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Stay in your lane, little girl. The grown-ups have real work to do." A business card fluttered onto her open notebook. His, embossed in gold. "When you're old enough for an entry-level job, call me. Maybe I'll let you answer phones." Zara's eyes lifted slowly. "What if I don't want to work for you?" Sterling's laughter was low and cruel. "Sweetheart, people like you don't get choices. You get chances, and you just burned yours." He walked out, leaving the air heavy with humiliation. Morrison knelt beside Zara. "Don't listen to him. You've done more good for this company in 1 week than he's done all year." Zara tried to smile, but her voice trembled. "Maybe he's right. Maybe I don't belong here." "Zara," Morrison said softly, "belonging isn't granted. It's proven." Still, the girl's confidence flickered. She packed her textbooks, the sound of paper against paper louder than any argument. That night, Morrison stayed late. She reviewed every major contract from the past year, German, Arabic, Korean, cross-referencing emails, scanning translation logs. Each error, each costly misunderstanding traced back to the same source. Ignored feedback from maintenance staff, unverified corrections filed by cleaning crews. Then she found it, a maintenance report from 2 months earlier signed by Z. Williams. Possible translation discrepancy, Section 4, German contract, filed, ignored. Morrison sat back, the truth dawning like sunrise. Zara hadn't just been brilliant in the moment, she'd been trying to help all along. Downstairs, the night cleaning shift was beginning. Morrison looked toward the dim corridor where Zara's mother pushed her cart, unaware her daughter had just rewritten the company's future. Monday morning arrived with quiet fury. The boardroom was filled with tension thick enough to choke on. Dr. Morrison stood at the head of the table, eyes sharp, a stack of reports under her arm. Around her sat Pinnacle's senior executives, whispering like guilty students. "Let's begin," she said. She laid out the documents, page by page, damage reports, canceled contracts, financial losses. The numbers were staggering, $46 million. Then she placed a second stack beside them, internal emails. Every failure here traces back to translation errors. Each one flagged months in advance. By this person. She clicked to the next slide. Zara Williams. The room froze. Morrison's voice was calm, but her tone carried a quiet fire. She filed reports under maintenance logs, sent correction notes through internal channels, even questioned legal phrasing in contracts no one else reviewed. Every single warning ignored because of where she came from. Sterling's voice broke through the silence from the large virtual screen where he appeared, broadcasting from New York. "You're not seriously suggesting a child replace trained translators?" Morrison leaned forward. "I'm suggesting we stop mistaking arrogance for expertise." A ripple of discomfort ran across the table. She tapped her tablet again. On screen appeared Zara's test results. Graduate level. Certifications across 12 languages. Japanese business fluency. Korean cultural competency. German technical translation. Arabic contract specialization. Perfect scores. "These are professional assessments," Morrison continued. "Not high school exams. She outperformed our entire department." Board member Patricia Carter leaned in, intrigued. "What are you proposing?" "A new position," Morrison said. "Global communications specialist. Qualification based on competency, not credentials." Sterling's laughter cracked through the speakers. "Ridiculous. Dangerous precedent. What's next? Promoting janitors to CFO." Morrison didn't blink. "Richard, your company lost $90 million this quarter due to communication failures. Ours would have joined you, if not for her." She switched to a new slide. Financial projections, partnership renewals, international opportunities saved through Zara's interventions. The data spoke louder than any defense. Patricia Carter exchanged a look with another board member. "She saved the Seoul plant, didn't she?" Morrison nodded. "And the Tokyo deal. And the German contract. She's built bridges where professionals built walls." For a long moment, the room was silent. Then Morrison pressed play on an audio file, the Seoul emergency call. Zara's voice filled the room, calm, articulate, commanding under chaos. Every executive sat transfixed. When the recording ended, no one spoke. "That," Morrison said quietly, "is leadership." Sterling's screen flickered. His jaw was tight, voice low. "If you do this, you'll regret it." Patricia Carter straightened her glasses. "Motion to approve the new position." Another voice. "Seconded." Votes went up, 6-1. Sterling's objection drowned in static. Dr. Morrison exhaled slowly. For the first time in years, corporate logic had bowed to human sense. Downstairs, Zara was in her quiet corner, eating a peanut butter sandwich, reviewing Korean grammar. She didn't know her life had just changed forever. 3 weeks later, the boardroom looked nothing like the one Zara had once been humiliated in. The same polished mahogany, the same skyline view, but the air carried something new: reverence. Cameras waited outside, reporters filled the lobby, and at the head of the table sat Zara Williams, 13 years old, her nameplate gleaming under studio lights, Director of Global Communications. Dr. Morrison watched from the side, pride flickering across her tired smile. It had been a long 3 weeks of restructuring, interviews, and public storms. But today, they weren't defending a decision. They were celebrating a revolution. Zara's rise had made international headlines. Teen translator saves Fortune 500 giant. The cleaning lady's daughter who spoke every language. Talent has no dress code. And yet, for all the noise, Zara remained quiet, humble, focused. The ceremony began. Patricia Carter stepped forward to announce Pinnacle's newest initiative, the Hidden Talent Program. Scholarships and certifications for overlooked workers across every department. The janitor with engineering degrees, the cafeteria worker fluent in 4 languages, the receptionist with a law diploma from abroad. Applause thundered through the room. Cameras flashed, but Zara's gaze drifted to a small corner, the one where she used to sit doing homework while executives ignored her. That was where Dr. Morrison found her later, sitting cross-legged beside a mop bucket, sipping hot chocolate instead of champagne. "You picked the quiet corner again," Morrison said, smiling. "It's where all good things start," Zara replied softly. Morrison joined her on the floor. "I wanted you to know. Your scholarship program was approved. $90 million in funding. Global reach." Zara's eyes widened. "That's unbelievable." "Believe it," Morrison said. "And one more thing." She handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter of admission. Full university tuition, any major, any country. Zara's fingers trembled. "My mom's going to cry." "She deserves to," Morrison said gently. "She raised the girl who changed how the world listens." Before Zara could respond, a familiar figure appeared at the doorway. Older, humbler, dressed in an off-the-rack suit. Richard Sterling. Conversations hushed. He stepped forward, clutching a folder. "Miss Williams," he said quietly, "I have something for you." He placed an application on the table. Community Outreach Coordinator, the Hidden Talent Foundation. "I don't expect forgiveness," he continued, "but I want to help others avoid my mistakes." Zara studied him. "Why should I trust you?" Sterling's voice cracked. "Because I finally understand what I destroyed that day. Not just my pride, but every person I ever made feel invisible." He pulled out a photo of his daughter. "She's 12, speaks 4 languages, learned from our housekeeper Maria. I see now what I refuse to see in you." Zara glanced at Dr. Morrison, then back at Sterling. "The Foundation's mission is second chances," she said quietly, "even for those who threw theirs away." She signed the paper. Probationary acceptance. 6 months. Sterling's eyes glistened. "Thank you." As he turned to leave, Zara looked out over the skyline. Below, thousands of windows glowed, offices, apartments, quiet rooms filled with unseen brilliance. "How many hidden talents are out there?" she murmured. Dr. Morrison joined her at the glass. "Enough to change the world, if someone just listens." Zara smiled, her reflection shimmering in the city lights. "Then we'll make sure they're heard,